So, we're at a TED Talk. You're expecting something big. We tend to think big problems require big solutions. Admit it, you came here expecting a moonshot. But what if we've been looking in the wrong direction? What if the fix isn't out there, it's already here? There's a bias in the way we tend to solve problems, especially existential ones like climate change. We assume solutions have to be huge, expensive, shiny, but what if it doesn't? What if the best answers to our biggest problems are small, quiet, and already working, just waiting for someone to notice them and scale them? Let me take you back. It's 1994, Main Street, Washington, Missouri. Or Washington, Missouri, if you're a local. A career scientist, my dad. He's 1 year into his entrepreneurial biotech venture. Working in his lab, he spills a glass flask that shatters on the floor. Now, he's not in a fancy lab. He's in the old office of a former car dealership, now his makeshift chemistry workshop and factory. That day, he was working with soybean oil, trying to create a biodegradable detergent. When that flask shatters and spills, something remarkable happens. The asphalt tile on the ground starts to dissolve. How unusual. It dissolves not with acid, not with petroleum, with soybean oil. That accident was a breakthrough. A plant-based compound that could clean and break down petro-based grime better than petroleum itself without being toxic from a bean. Over the next 30 years, my dad created a small but mighty line of products for sustainable infrastructure, all based around soybean oil. Think roads, airports, sidewalks. Hey, he even had your driveway covered. His work product? The molecules. He's a scientist. And me? Where he saw molecules, I saw meaning. Where he built chemistry, I saw story and systems. It's the overlooked fix. These soy-based compounds preserve concrete. They preserve asphalt. Same chemistry, different surfaces, one system. Let me repeat that because it's kind of a big deal. The same plant-based chemistry can extend the life of concrete and asphalt. Roads, runways, bridges, ports, highways, parking lots, and yes, your driveway too. And here's something you might not know. Asphalt is the most recycled material in the United States, more than aluminum, more than paper. We've quietly built one of the most circular systems in infrastructure, and nobody talks about it. So our solutions and others in the bio-based category, they extend what we built, but they don't fight the fossil fuel-based system. They actually work in symbiosis with it. So we extend the life of what we build, we reduce material demand, delay repaving, stretch maintenance budgets, and lower emissions. That's not disruption. That's optimization. Now, I didn't always intend to follow in my dad's footsteps. I had my own path. But I did grow up in the factory, worked weekends and summer breaks in the lab. I stayed close to home for university, but life eventually took me to Hong Kong. There, I spotted a gap in the market and started my own digital branding agency. Eventually, I exited and went on to build tech products for simplifying global trade and supply chain transparency. I worked with some of the world's largest companies to map supply chains, cut carbon, and boost traceability. I was drawn to complexity and obsessed with simplifying it. I am a nerd. And after 16 years abroad, I paused, and I realized I had been chasing the next big thing when the real impact was in front of me all along. So I moved my family halfway around the world, back to the Midwest, to play with soybeans. Because what my dad created wasn't just clever, it was scalable. Small solution, big impact. You know what this reminds me of? Sometimes it's the simplest innovations, not sweeping overhauls, that have the power to change the way we live, move, and work. We all know this one. The Post-it note. Small solution, big impact. Duct tape. Small solution, big impact. Velcro. Small solution, big impact. How about some infrastructure examples, though? Painted lines on roads. In 1917, an undertaker in Michigan noticed a leaking trail of milk spilling from a truck. He painted a line down the center of his road, and instantly it changed things. Things got safer, traffic flowed better. And now that small innovation is now universally on every road around the world. Now, some of you need a reminder on how these things work, but small solution, big impact. How about the roundabout? Love them or hate them, replacing a traditional four-way intersection reduces injury crashes by 75%, according to the Federal Highway Administration. That's huge. It's no new material. It's just a different design. It's not a new road. It's a different design. Small solution, big impact. And curb cuts on sidewalks. Originally created for wheelchairs, curb cuts help pretty much everybody, from workers with carts, parents with strollers, and travelers with luggage. Small solution, big impact. None of these were flashy, but they solved massive problems with elegant, scalable simplicity. Small solution, big impact. Let's talk numbers. Every year, we pour enough concrete to build an 8-lane highway around the Earth twice. Cement accounts for 8% of CO2 emissions each year. Parking lots, they average only 7 years before they're repaved, while they could last 30 with the right preservation. Now, this one gets me. Globally, on infrastructure, we spend over $2 trillion a year. That's a lot of money. So every time we preserve a road with a plant-based chemistry, we delay repaving. And we also save about 167 tons of carbon that we didn't have to drill or dig for that mile. But it's not just about carbon. It's economics. When we choose to maintain and preserve what we build, public and private sector stretch their budgets. Farmers grow additional feedstock. Contractors reduce downtime. Traffic and commerce continue to flow. Employees find meaning with climate-positive work. Research points to the same thing time and time again. Research from the National Center for Pavement Preservation, the Federal Highway Administration, and state and local agencies. It all says that if we preserve our roads early on, we save big later. Okay, the numbers are simple but staggering. For every $1, just one single dollar that we spend on preservation today, we can save $6, $8, sometimes up to $10 down the road on major repairs or full reconstruction. That's like finding a leak in the roof and fixing it for $5 instead of replacing the whole roof. Now, I will take the duct tape option any day. It's not just a good idea, it's a better business model. So why isn't everybody doing this? Well, a few reasons. Firstly, maintenance is invisible. When a road doesn't fail, nothing happens. You don't win an award, it's not glamorous. Second, budgets tend to reward replacement over preservation. Budgets will prefer full reconstruction instead of a smart maintenance program, even though the latter is cheaper and greener. And nobody shared the facts. The science was there, the results were there, but nobody connected the dots. And that's where I came in, not as a chemist, but as a builder of systems and stories. I don't need to invent the solution. It's my job to scale it. I'm a builder. I didn't inherit a legacy. I inherited a tool belt. And builders don't wait for perfect. They notice what works, and they get moving. So I started showing up, knocking on doors, asking, hey, what if we tried this here? And people said yes. Something that started so small got much bigger. Every time we preserve a mile, we save money and emissions. Because this isn't a climate pitch. This is a practical solution to a structural problem. Every time we preserve something we build, we save money and emissions. The answer we're waiting for isn't a moonshot. It is a mind shift. Because the road that we're going on, it's leading us off a cliff. So maybe the smartest thing that we can do isn't to build a new road. It's to preserve the one that we're currently on. Small solution, big impact. I'm Lindsey Hermes. Thank you.